Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. Greg Christ, along with Frank Fear. And Frank, here we are again, another Wednesday night and another week behind us, closer to the start of the season. And I know it's always great to see you, and it's always great to get our guests on. We've got a great guest tonight. We're looking really forward to that. And got several things to talk about and hash out. I know you sent me some articles today that I read through. Those articles very interesting, and just when you think the portal is through, you read more information about it. So we've got portal information as well.
Uh, we're we're getting feedback, Greg, and
Yep.
I did. Yeah, I did not hear what you said. Unfortunately, I saw your lips move, and I presumed there was a voice behind it. And yeah, yeah,
And I'm hearing everything. A huge delay.
yeah. We're sorry, folks. Darren, we're getting feedback, delay feedback. Yeah, we're going to get it fixed.
All right. Can you hear me now, Frank?
Yes, you're coming through, and I didn't think you were throwing your voice, Craig. I
Well,
had a
the
suspicion.
the odd thing was that I was
Yeah.
hearing myself about 5 seconds afterwards.
Oh, yeah. We're getting it back, Darren. Hey,
All right. I don't know if it's any better or not.
hmm.
I hear you. I can hear Frank okay. Still a little bit of a delay, but
Yep, it's better. Nope. Uh, oh no. Yeah, we haven't had this problem before, so that's the yeah. Okay.
uh, I don't know if it is. Frank, can you talk and see if I can hear you okay?
Yeah, I bet you can.
Okay. Yeah, I do hear you
Yeah,
good, and there's no, well, not good, and there's no feedback. So that was it.
yeah. Well, this has been a great show, Greg. Good seeing you
Yep. Yep.
again. And
Tim, appreciate your input.
okay, very
All
good.
right. One thing you can say about this generation, me, Frank, Tim, the technology thing is above our pay grade. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, welcome everybody to the show. We'll welcome you again. Uh, as I was saying earlier, and I don't think you heard this, but another Wednesday night, another week's gone by. We're a little closer to football season. Just when you think the portal, all this portal talk is over, we get more news today. And Frank, you sent me some articles. We read through those articles about some of those folks in the portal. We want to talk a little bit about that before we go on. But first of all, welcome in. Frank is, of course, the host, and with me, the co-host, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. And we got a special guest tonight. I know everybody will be excited about this guy. I know I didn't tell him this before we came on the air, but Frank, you had asked if we'd ever met, and I said I was going to say, and the last time that I saw Tim, uh, we were thumping UNLV up in the Coliseum in 1983, and I was in college. I was a junior in college then at Glenville, and I read the article and brought back. I got chill bumps now just talking about it. But several of us were laying around our dorm, and somebody said, "Let's go watch the Mountaineers tomorrow." Right, all right, we're in. They said, we got to go now so we can get a seat. So we left Glenville at about 11 o'clock that night on Friday night, I think it was. Rolled into Morgantown about midnight, a little after, and stayed out on the sidewalk all night. I was going to say slept on the sidewalk, but then nobody was sleeping out there. And the next morning, uh, literally, they pushed the doors open. They had them locked, and they kept pushing until finally they opened, and we flooded in. And man, what a day! And I know, and Tim, I'll tell. Go ahead. I know he can hear us in the back room, but and Frank, I've told this story before. Talking to Jerry Tarkanian later on as I was coaching, and we were at a coaches clinic in Charlotte, Carolina. It was a Nike clinic where all the coaches come to one spot, and so that night we were down at the bar, and Jerry Tarkanian and Jim Valvano were sitting in a booth. And me being the shy guy that I am, I took 3 beers over and sat down with them. And we started talking, and it was Coach Catlett was, there was rumors that he was going to give it up. And so I told Tarkanian, I said, you ought to apply for the job. We'd love to have you back. And he started laughing. He said, I know what you meant by that. And he said, I'll tell you what, of all the big games we played in, he said the atmosphere that day in Morgantown is unlike anything I saw my whole career. He said that was the most exciting atmosphere I've ever been involved with. He said, what a day that was. And he said, we walked into a buzzsaw, that's for sure. Okay, that's my stories, Frank. I'll let you
Yeah.
talk a little bit here as we get going.
Yeah. Those 80s, basketball and football with Gail Catlett, head of the basketball team, and of course,
Yep.
Don Nealon, football. And you think of that big win over UNLV, and then not soon after, WVU beat Boston College and Penn State on the football field back to back, also at home. And when you think about those 3 games, it's you got to go a long way to find home games that had more staying power. They were
Yeah.
huge at the time, but they've had staying power. But you were met. We'll talk a little bit about football, and then we'll bring Tim in. But it's interesting because this is the time of year, as you know, that a whole bunch of stuff comes up. Some of it you got to pay attention to, and some of it, well, it's interesting. It's sort of like chewing gum for football fans. And one of those was a fan came up with this idea of a trade between the ACC and the Big 12, and the ACC would get Cincinnati, Central Florida, and WVU, and they would go. Those 3 teams would go from the Big 12 to the ACC, and then the Big 12 would get SMU, Stanford, and Cal, and and so actually it was picked up by the media then, and now has been talked about significantly. But like so many things, right? It's not. I don't say it's not legit, but it didn't come out of an institutional. No, NCAA didn't come up with it. Big 12 didn't come up with it. The ACC, but Greg, what's interesting about it, even though you really can't take it seriously unless the institutions get behind it, it does make sense because it would reunite teams. You would essentially have 7 teams from the old Big East in the ACC, and you would reunite SMU with TCU, and with Cal and Stanford. You would have 6 teams from the old Pac-12. So when you think, I know you're a big fan of regionalizing the game. Getting back to that, So this one, well, you and I haven't talked about your thoughts about it, and I'd be interested to hear what you think about that possibility.
Well, when I read it, of course, like you, the first thing I thought was, "Hey, makes sense to me." you know, the only problem, obviously, is that, like you said, the institutions haven't talked about it, and you would think that were that going to happen, it would have happened years ago if the ACC had wanted, WVU and Cincinnati, um, which apparently they don't, because I think we've kind of lobbied for years about getting in the ACC, and they always use the academic side of things to negate that, and um, I don't know, I don't think that that's legitimate. I think that was just something to put out publicly for a reason they didn't want to see in the ACC. I think there's other reasons. I think there's some uh, you know fractions there between some of the institutions and WVU. So I think that's part of it. I think the proposal, like the article said, makes perfectly good sense. I mean, why would you not again want those regional games and the TV networks? I think, and I've said this numerous times on here, would much rather have WVU versus Pitt in the backyard brawl as they would WVU going out to Iowa State to play. Uh, Not that this Iowa State's good football program, but it's not something that you know in all honesty, a lot of folks are interested in, other than WVU and Iowa State fans nationally. That's not a real attractive game. I think the backyard brawl is a much more attractive game. So these regional games to me always make sense, and I've said all
Hey,
along I
hey,
think
Greg, I got a question. Can you
okay,
hear me? I
yes,
know I haven't been introduced, but what about Virginia Tech and UVA as far as the ACC? Getting
yeah,
them. I mean, that has the Virginia Tech games. It's been years since we played. Virginia
yep,
Tech.
yep,
Why?
another great regional rivalry, and
Yeah.
my feeling has always been, since all this mess started, was that um, I think it would be beneficial not only for the fans, but I think financially for these institutions if we went to that pro model where you had um, divisions and you had it regionalized and you had that East Coast, with WU, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Virginia, Syracuse, all those teams playing each other. And that be a division. I've always thought that would be the smart way to go. And I think that money wise, financially, I think for the networks, I think it would be huge. I think, in all honesty, I mean, would you rather watch, um, Michigan and Ohio State, USC, UCLA, or would you rather watch, Iowa State and Cincinnati? I keep saying Iowa State. It's nothing personal against Iowa State, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, nationally, I think, I'll watch, I'll watch Michigan, Ohio State, um, just because it's Michigan, Ohio State. But I probably won't watch Michigan and Rutgers, or somebody like that. And so I just think it makes sense, to get these conferences are just so bizarre the way they're set up now with teams going from coast to in today's in today's college football world. Who knows what might happen? But can't say that it's totally serious.
Yeah, yeah. Darren, if you can bring in Tim, he can get involved in this conversation too, if that's possible on the screen. And
I'm getting there on the video, so I might.
yeah,
Yeah, I did too. I
yeah,
did too.
yeah. I don't know if Darren can hear me. I hope this is working well. But it's interesting because one of the early proposals that was, um, let's put it this way, more formalized, essentially was the same thing, and that is to return to regional roots. And this one would do that because it would reunite the old Big East teams and reunite the Pac-12 teams. But what's interesting is here's another one that came up just a couple days ago, and some of the fans may know this, that the Big 12 has decided that they've signed a contract with WWE, and they've already identified 4 Friday night WWE SmackDowns that are going to occur the night before a marquee Big 12 game. And the first one's going to be in Dublin the end of next month when Iowa State plays Kansas State. WVU is not scheduled for any of the 4 so far, but we'll see how that goes. And this
Frank,
again,
I heard the first SmackDown was going to be Friday. You through the grapevine, I've heard you're going to smack down Joswiak, is what I heard.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. I think you heard it the wrong way. Okay. If there's any SmackDown, it's me. I'm going to be smacked down. But on a serious note, there are 2 things that I think we've got to pay attention to because they relate specifically to WVU. Number one is that when the roster was released, there were 4 names, 3 prominent names that were not on that list, Greg. And this is troubling because their eligibility is being held up as the NCAA is doing a review. Jerry Weimer, who is a wideout, is not at this, quite frankly, at the same level as many see it, although I'm not casting aspersions. But the other 3 were projected either to start or be no less than 2 deep, 2 on offense and 2 defense. One, Ty Edwards from Northern, I think it was Northern. I always get this wrong with that. Yeah, Northern Iowa. That's
Northern Iowa.
Yeah, not in Northern Illinois. But he is slated to be the replacement for Donaldson, big back that would complement White. He's one of them, along with Weimer on the offensive side, and then Jamori Robinson as defensive end, and Justin Harrington, a defensive back, that also were all from the portal. And hopefully between now and the time the season starts, those guys will be with us. And let me throw this in and then get your thoughts, Craig, is that the other thing that came up very recently is that there are rumblings that Ren Baker's name is pretty high on the list of candidates for the athletic directorship at the University of Oklahoma. And, we just lost our basketball coach. He didn't stay very long. And obviously Ren's been here longer, came in a couple of years ago, actually. But we wouldn't want to lose him. He's just super. Your thoughts, Craig, on both of those matters?
Yeah. On the portal thing, what's worried about that with those players. We kind of know our history with the NCAA and their eligibility rulings, which in our history has been seems somewhat unfair. Not only with football, but basketball was more noticeable than anything, I guess. So that worries you a little bit. That's in the hands of the NCAA because, we haven't had much luck in that department. And I know they said it was a formality, but I think I remember the basketball player, his name slips me now, but just a year or 2 ago had been declared ineligible by the NCAA, even though a player at another school with the exact similar situation was declared eligible by the NCAA. And they said, well, it's just a formality for him to get eligible. And then they declared him ineligible. I think they appealed it and threatened to take it to court, and they caved in and let him become eligible halfway through the season. But so that worries you a little bit, the fact that the NCAA is going to be deciding this. The other thing that struck me about those guys, Frank, and I know you noticed this as well in reading about them, um, 3 of the 4 again uh, were all in their 20s. These were grown men we're talking about. They started their college careers in 2018, 2019, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So you have to figure, they're 23, 24, 25 years old. So they're grown men. And, you can say what you want, but that makes a difference. And I think that these guys will be pivotal in any success that West Virginia has. So you hope, beyond hope, that they get their eligibility and all that gets taken care of. We hope. Again, it worries you though that the NCAA gets to decide. They don't. I always said about the NCAA that much like our WVSSAC here in West Virginia, they're more of a and again not to knock anyone, but they're more of a punishing organization than they are helpful. And the NCAA seems to be that seems to be um, the only authority they have is to punish folks, you know, and so I worry about that. As far as Ren Baker is concerned, we hope, and again, I know West Virginia fans have to feel snake bitten. We lose our basketball coach, we lose the next basketball coach, and now the AD. It's being mentioned that he's a top candidate for the Oklahoma job. I personally, I know a lot of people are going to have negative comments about him and this and that, but um, if you look what he's done, and to me, he's a stabilizing force. I feel like that. He's kept everybody from panicking. He's made the right moves. He says the right things. He's a great fundraiser. He's talked about the financial side of things, and he understands that the business side of it. And I worry about losing him. I think he's pivotal in our success, and I think it would be a huge step back, regardless of who we bring in. It's going to be a big step back if we lose him because we have to start with somebody else, and he's going to be hard to replace. And I just feel like he has a really good handle and a really good grip on NIL, on the finances, the settlement and all that. He understands everything so well, and we've listened to him talk numerous times about it, and he's just that stabilizing force that I think we really need right now. So I worry a lot about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, Ren is from Oklahoma. I think most people know that. But there are multiple um, Oklahoma alums, connections, either played for Oklahoma or were involved in the program, athletic program at Oklahoma. In fact, the rumor is the leading candidate is Zach Selman, who's the AD now at Mississippi State. And that last name, surname, sounds familiar. His father
Yep.
was Dewey Selman, and he's a nephew of Lucius and Leroy Selman. And
Yep.
so we'll just hope for the best, and certainly we would be at a loss if he were to leave, if Ren were to leave. But it's a business, and we
Yeah.
all have careers, and we make decisions
Yeah.
that are relevant for our careers as well. So we'll see how it goes.
One thing about I've often said job security. You would hope that means something to them, and I think somebody like him would be at WVU as long as he wanted to be. Much like Rich Rodriguez back
Yeah.
when he was here before. Uh, they could stay as long as they want to stay, and you would hope that that would, you know, hold a little bit of water for him. Can only hope. And but like you said, it's a business, and they have families and careers to think about, and what's best for them. And I'm sure he'll do what's best for him, and that may mean staying in WVU. We hope,
Very
but
good.
may not. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know if Darren is still out there. I don't hear him or see him. But we do have Tim Kearney waiting on us, and I don't know that we'll actually be able to bring him up on the screen just yet, but he can hear us,
Yep.
and we can hear him. And I think Darren may have him up there now. So
Yep.
let's bring him in. Like I said, the last time I saw him was in 1983 at the UNLV game. Great. There's the stats. I won't read all those. Uh, Fine career at WVU, excellent career. Um, and if people watched him play, they know always played hard. He had a nice shot from the, nice smooth jump shot from the outside. He battled it inside, rebounded the basketball. Just an all around good player. And I laughed today when I read the article. And he said he could shoot the three, but if he had his butt would have been on the bench. So he's played in the wrong time period. If he was playing now, they'd expect him to go out there and shoot the threes. But anyway, Tim, welcome to the show. The former Mountaineer great, and it's awesome to see you, awesome to meet you. We're glad you have been able to find some time to join us.
I appreciate the invite, and looking forward to y'all's questions. And by the way, they didn't push the doors open; they broke the doors for the UNLV
Well,
game.
I
There was
nice.
shattered glass and everything else.
I don't know when the statute of limitations runs out. I would say I had no part in that. I was in the back part of that crowd.
And actually, a good friend of mine was part of the I guess the Penn State West Virginia game when we finally beat Penn State. I was at the game, and the guy who was on the top of the goal post when it came down, it fell on top of him, and I know him very well, and he's a very successful lawyer these days.
Oh.
That's
Yeah, like I
great.
said, I hope the statute of limitations have expired.
No, he's doing very, very well. Like I said, I've still have a lot of good friends up there in Morgantown. I stay in touch with them. Dr. Dave Glass up there. He's very well known. He's retired. I go up there to go to the basketball games. I talked to Coach Catlett. Matter of fact, I talked to him before this podcast, and he told me to give the best to everybody that he's been on here before. But I talked to him. I talked to his daughter Kara. Kara used to wake him up at 2, 3 in the morning to find out where Tim Kearney is when I played up there. And when I finally got out of there, Coach Catlett came to me and says, "Thank God you're gone." I said, "Why?" Because now I get a good night's sleep because Kara keeps asking, "Where is Tim Kearney?"
He was the Waldo of the
Yeah, exactly. I was the Waldo up there for Kara Catlett. And I talked to her too. She's doing well. Her oldest is 17 now. But got over. She's involved in the church. She does a lot of things in the community. She all around. I mean, Annis and Gail raised two great girls, young ladies, and it's a privilege to be part of that family as well as other families up there.
Yeah, Tim, we've talked to a few players from your era and from the Gil Catlett era, and we always like to ask this question. It seems like that over the course of time, um, it's not that time period has been forgotten, but it's not relished like it should be. It's not looked at like it should be. Looking back, and I grew up again. You and I are basically the same age. That's the era I grew up watching, and what great basketball teams we had. Won lots and lots of games. Lots of the Atlantic 10 was a very formidable conference at that time, and he had a tremendous amount of success and ran a good clean program but it seems like today, not that anybody says anything bad, it's just that people don't say anything. They don't get the kudos from that era that they should. And I don't know if you, as a player, have recognized that over the years. I know we've talked about Daryl Prue. He certainly has, and I don't know if you feel that or see that or notice that or have an opinion on that at all. But I'd like to get your thoughts on it.
Well, there's a lot of things that's changed, especially with this NIL and now with the latest as far as based upon revenues that each university has. Now they can pay players. That thing is it's turned, to me, it's turned college basketball into pre-NBA with free draft, like it's never been seen before. I mean, if a player gets upset where a coach goes off on him, he goes, "Fine, I'll transfer." And you can't do that in the NBA because there's different stipulations put in there. To me, that it's kind of destroying college basketball, it's destroying college football. And I think there needs to be some changes there somewhere. I mean, back when I played from 80 to 84, we we had a group of guys. We played to win. We played for the university, and these guys are all now playing for money, and something's got to change.
So, going back to my question, there, do you get the sense that your era has kind of been forgotten?
Well, we played for the game. We played for the love of the game, which is a big thing. It to me is a big thing. Now it's these guys, including the professional sports, they're playing for the money. Um, they're kind of losing perspective now with college basketball, and I wish some things would be, the fact that you guys brought up this whole thing with the Big 12 and what the WWE or WWF or whatever and what they're doing. Hey, focus on your all's conference. Don't bring in there's a bunch of people I know that are big wrestling fans. Hey, I have no problem with that. But why are you bringing it into college basketball? I mean, there's certain things that I think the overall, I don't know, mindset of some of these people are, not right. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And I'm going to voice my opinion on it. But and I'm sure there's a lot of people who probably have a different opinion. But what to say about opinions? Everyone's got one. But I didn't finish the whole thing. I'm trying to keep it clean, guys. I told you I would. Yeah. It is what it is. And I think I'd like to bring back the real, true spirit of college sports and what it means. I don't know your guys' feeling. I mean, this the whole thing, and I hate to bring it up because I know I'm going to be trashed on it, but males transitioning over to females and competing in sports, that should not happen. It just bring college sports back to the 80s.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that. I think it'd be great to.
Like I said, I'm not trying to open up a can of worms here, but I'm old school, and that's my feelings, and it is what it is.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Having it's so hard now to build a program and get to know the players. They're here for a year, gone somewhere else, in and out.
Coach Catlett and Bobby Joe Smith and McPherson, these guys, they had us all over to their homes. We would go to their homes for dinner, go to their homes for lunch. You don't see that. So we were the team was a family. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah, there's not much loyalty. That's for sure.
No.
Not much loyalty left. And it's sign of the times. And Frank and I have talked, and other guests, that hopefully some stability will come to this thing, and they'll get it to where it's fine to pay them, but there needs to be some some obligation on the player part to stay there in a program for more than 30 seconds and that sort of thing. So hopefully.
No, I'm really excited about this new coach. I really think he's going to make a difference. So far, he's transitioned very well. He's excited about the program. He's bringing in some key guys. But I hope he stays around for more than a year, like we didn't have last year. But I'm excited about it, and I look forward to getting up there and seeing games. I've already talked to my good friend Dr. Dave Blass. I've known him for 45 years. And when I go up there, I stay at his house. He's got tickets. Him and I go to, he's 83 now, and he's family. When I call him up, I tell him I love him. When we finish our calls, and I told him, I said, I hit 68, and I see that sign, "Welcome to wonderful West Virginia," and I feel like I'm home, and it's a good feeling. I love going up there.
Yeah, and you of course talked about the new coach. Let's talk about your coach for a second. You mentioned visiting, talking with Coach Catlett frequently, and talked to him yesterday or today. When you look back, what made him what made him so special as a coach? I know he was a great floor coach, knew the X's and O's, and could draw up plays like nobody's business. But what do you what's your thoughts on Coach Catlin and his coaching? And I'm sure there's fond memories and all that.
Yeah.
What do you say about Coach Catlin?
He listened to us. I mean, he listened to us, and he took note as far as if we're having issues, some problems, whatever. But I don't know if you knew him or when he played back in the '60s, back with Bobby Joe and everybody else. But Gil, he played for the Mountaineers, and he was the dirtiest player. I'm serious. He'll tell you the story. I don't know if he ever told you the story, but when we were playing Pitt, when he was playing, he took one of their guys, threw him in the stands down at the old Stansbury Hall. Gail, he was a dirty player, and so I think that's why you like Phil Collins so much, because Phil Collins only spent 2 years at WVU, but he's still, and the only one who broke his foul record was your friend Daryl Proof.
Yeah.
But Phil only played 2 years. So think about that.
Yeah, I remember Phil Collins playing.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
was the
a
backup center to Phil for 2 years. So I got a lot of playing time because he fouled out of every game.
Yes, he was like the
I was
enforcer.
there when we played St. Bonaventure, and he broke Eric Stolover's nose. And he just, I mean, you guys don't know that. I don't think you know it, but actually Phil was a Gold Gloves boxer out of Chicago, Illinois, and he was a southpaw.
He was southpaw. Didn't know he was a boxer.
Yes, he was. He was a Gold Gloves boxer out of Chicago. And trust me, I got a few punches from him during practice. He can punch.
Yeah, he was a big dude too.
And just like you said, you went to Glenville. Well, Noah Moore's brother played basketball for Glenville because Noah Moore was my roommate.
Okay.
And Noah Moore was also Bobby Huggins' roommate when Bobby Huggins played.
Oh, small world.
It is.
Yeah.
Small world. And Frank, I know after hearing that Coach Catlin is the dirtiest player he's ever been around there, I can't wait to get Coach Catlin on here and spring that one on him.
He probably won't be too happy with me telling that story.
Well, we'll hold our source. We won't tell him who told us.
Well, he mellowed. No, he mellowed over the years. Okay.
There you go. We'll tell you we went back and watched some old real footage.
Yeah. But no, he cared about all of us, and it was now if I took and I never did. If I took a 3-point shot, even though if I made it, my butt would have been on the bench, because in his book, someone at 6'11" should not be shooting from 3-point range. Just like when we play GW,
Yeah.
always. Yeah.
times I wanted to fire from 3-point because I could make it, but I never did.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to say that these guys like him at coach, you'd like to just their initial thoughts not prepared when they see a Magic Johnson or these guys today that are 6'10", 6'11", and they're dribbling behind their back and shooting 3-pointers and just the name of the game now. And,
you think about it, and Greg, I mean, we were one game away back in 84 in the NCAA's from playing North Carolina, and we lost to James Madison. Okay, we shouldn't have lost to James Madison. We were one game away from playing Georgetown in 82 in the NCAA's. We shouldn't have lost. We lost, I think, San Jose State or something like that. We shouldn't have lost that game. I mean, we were like this. We were so close to. I mean, these are all like Final Four teams. North Carolina had James Worthy. They had Jordan. I mean, when I got drafted in '84 by Portland, I mean, ESPN has a whole series on that was the best draft class ever in '84 because they had Jordan, they had Olajuwon, they had, you know, they if you look at '84 draft class and the people that played and how many years they played, I mean,
Yeah.
I personally, I cannot believe that I was even drafted. I got a phone call and from this guy, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm an agent." I said, "Okay." He goes, "You just got drafted." I said, "Huh?" I had no idea. I got drafted by Portland Trailblazers in the third round. And I went out there, tried out, guarded. I was up against Jerome Kersey, who had 12 years with Portland. You know, unfortunately, he passed away. You know, at 50 some years old from he had surgery done on his leg, but he had a blood clot or something. But yeah, you know, I feel fortunate. You know, I played overseas. You know, in Belgium, Holland, in college. I played down in Australia with the team WVU. So, I mean, I got to see the world
Yeah.
playing basketball.
So after your basketball career ended, just tell us, one of the things Frank and I are always marveling at is what happened to all these WUs at the ends, and what they did after they wrapped up their playing careers. Tell us a little bit about your life after basketball.
Well, my life has been roller coasters. I spent
Welcome to the club.
yeah, I'm sure. I spent 18 years in IT, doing a lot of things with security and whatnot. And did a lot of things for working for companies like GE. I had my own company for 5 years, sold that. Um, I got I got married back in 1990 to a lovely woman. Um, and unfortunately, she was a flight attendant for US Air and lost her life 6 months after we got married out in
Oh,
LAX. She was a flight attendant out there and died of smoke inhalation trying to get people off the airplane. It was back in '91 where that 737 landed on a commuter, but a lot of, I have a lot of thoughts about her. I did remarry, and still with the same lady. Um, but and then things took a little change. I got tired of the IT industry and got into construction. And now you say, okay, construction, define that. Well, um, I waterproof tunnels.
wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I got involved with a company back in 2000, I think, 2003, where they were looking for a project manager. And the guy says, okay. He says, I'll give you 3 months. And after 3 months, he goes, you lied to me. I said, what do you mean I lied to you? He says, you know more than what's going on. So I've been in waterproofing of tunnels for a long time. We did jobs. We did all the new metro lines up in New York City. We did all the tunnels out here at Dulles Airport. We did tunnels out in San Diego. Actually, this tunnel I enjoy because it's a tunnel from the courthouse to the jail, so the prisoners don't escape. Worked out in San Francisco, and did some of the metro stuff out there. Did things out of Florida with different lines. I mean, I've worked all over the country, multiple contracts up in Canada, and I've left the current company I'm with because I guess they have a problem with my age, which I think is ridiculous. But right now, I'm doing consulting for all the designers, the general contractors in the tunneling industry, and it's working out good, and I enjoy it. I mean, I can work from home. And if I travel, they pay the cost for me to travel, and they trust me. And I've got some good people over the years. I mean, I've been inducted into different associations for the tunneling industry, which is pretty cool to get, verification from, your peers that you deal with every day. And some of these associations, when someone dies, they replace it with a new member. So they only have a small group, which I mean, one of them is the moles, and I was inducted into the moles about 2 or 3 years ago. Um, I've gone through different trainings for, PMP, for the Six Sigma certified as far as the old GE adage on the green belt, black belt, and all that. So done a lot of programming work. It's all self-taught. I mean, I went through West Virginia with I got a sports management degree, and I'm sitting here doing code. I'm writing database stuff. I'm doing C++, but it's all self-taught.
Well, you reinforce my things that I've always told my two kids, and that is, I got two sons, and when they went to college, I would tell them, just get a degree, no matter what it's in, just get you a degree, and nobody can take that away from you, regardless of what it's in. So, um, I have
Well, it's
one.
funny because I got my sports management degree, and Fred Schauf's son, he was part of the Redskins group, and he got a sports management degree. And I used to work right across the street from the old Redskin Park. I called him up. I said, "What can I do with a sports management degree?" He goes, "Find a different profession."
I know, yeah, I think both of mine have undergraduates in marketing, I believe is what it is. And so I was talking to my oldest son. He coaches college basketball down in Kentucky at Pikeville University, and I was talking to him the other day, and I said, a good friend of ours just took over the manager's job of this, they call it Adventures on the Gorge. It's a big place where they do all kinds of rock climbing, things like that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I said they're looking for somebody to do the marketing for them. He's like, there is no way I'm doing that. He said, that would be the most boring job. I'm like, well, don't you have a degree in that? Yeah, but
Uh, well, Greg, I'll tell you what. I've had some incredible experiences with professors up there. I don't know if you know the name, but Dr. Cruz was head of the kinesiology program up there at West Virginia. He spent time with me working out as far as on weightlifting. I mean, he took within 6 weeks. I was benching 150, and within 6 weeks he had me benching 300 pounds. And he
wow.
also did work for the Washington Redskins under George Allen. The guy was incredible. I mean, I took his course in kinesiology, A plus. I mean, his course was just amazing. I mean, some history professors, the way they taught it. I mean, different professors up there. They have a great program, and students, thinking about going to West Virginia, they really should consider, because a lot of these professors, they really take pride. I mean, I took a management 101 class up there, and this guy, he used to be he did something in Puerto Rico. He actually had to kick Frank Sinatra out of the country because he was breaking laws. But his stories, I mean, he was just very captivating. The people up there are amazing, and that's why I take so much thought in thinking about everybody up there. I mean, it was a great place to go.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Frank, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Darren, this might be a good time to, when you have a chance to load that UNLV tape, because as I was thinking as you guys were talking, one of the things we have to remember is that we were back then. We know what those times were like. But for many of the younger fans, all they know is the sort of the approach that's being used today in college football. And if you watch this, it's a short tape, only a minute long.
Hey,
That
Frank, I got to bring something up. When Jerry Tarkanian passed away, I reached out. I got the email address of his son, Danny. Danny,
yeah,
who played that game. I reached out. I said, thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. Don't know if you remember me. Um, I played against you at WVU. He actually called me back and says, Tim, I remember you.
yeah.
And he goes, I appreciate the thoughts and prayers from my father. And I said, and I told Danny, I said, he was a very special man. And I mean, a lot of people didn't like him, but
Yeah,
he was a competitor.
yeah. Well, whenever Darren has a chance to get that tape in, we'll. But you and I were talking the other day, and the coach at Portland that we couldn't remember, that must have been Jack Ramsey.
It was Jack, and
What?
Jack was an incredible. It just, yeah. I mean, he was big into triathlons, and I told you a story about we had 3-a-days going on, and he would bike from his home to practice 3 times a day, and it was 15 miles one way.
Yeah, he in our promo, we talked about the points you scored. I mean, you were not triple, but you were quadruple: steals, blocks, rebounds, and points. I didn't go back and check the record. I meant to, and I just didn't get to it. That had to be your biggest game in terms of across the stat line during your time at West Virginia.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you a story. I was up the whole night before the game. I didn't get any sleep. I was wide awake the whole night. And I told you the story yesterday when I talked to you about, my free throw percentage was not very good. And a minute into the game, I get fouled, and I look down. There's the camera with the red light on, and I start laughing. And I'm thinking, do not throw an air ball on national TV. And I end up shooting, I think, 11 out of 15 free throws or something like that. I mean,
yeah. When I did go to the stat line there, and I go, wow, it's like Prue. Every once in a while, he would hit 80%, and that wasn't necessarily that was the exception to the rule. But
I'll give you a tidbit for the next time you talk to Coach Catlett. Coach Catlett, he messed with our minds so much when it came to free throw shooting. He would sit there and give lessons on free throw shooting, and Bobby Joe would look over and say, "Why is he giving shooting lessons? He couldn't shoot worth a what."
Oh, that's great.
And Bobby Joe, I tell you what, that man athletically had more talent than Jerry West. I'm telling you right now, but he liked to have a good time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was 13 years old. I've known the man for a long time. And I used to go to, my brother played on the varsity team. And I went in there, and Bobby Joe says, "Come on, little," he called me little too tall, because they call my brother too tall. He goes, "Let's give you some shooting lessons." He goes, "Let's see how you shoot." And I would shoot. He goes, "You look like a chicken getting ready to get slaughtered." And he spent the whole practice with me. And he truly was like a second father to me. So that's why I went to West Virginia because of Bobby Joe Smith. And I'll tell you that right.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that. The other thing I wanted to elaborate on, or at least a point you both made that I think is so critical, and that is, you got to pick a major. Quick as you can, pick a major, as though whatever major you pick, that's the field you're going to be working in. The purpose of higher education is to prepare us for life. And what's really important is to be exposed to really good professors, to have an opportunity to take a wide array of subject matter. And if you're educated well, not trained, if you're educated well, then you can migrate across fields. And you're an example of that, Tim. I mean, sports management, and there you are, and you're successful. Owned your own business, vice president, had a great and long career. And that's what higher education is all about. And the other thing, if you flip that coin over, call it old school. What's happened to the game today, and particularly in football and basketball, that's not higher education. That's pro ball that's imposed on higher education. So as a consequence, these players that are engaged, I mean, I was looking at the stats, and you saw the same article, Greg. One of the reasons that one of these football players is the NCAA it's not because NCAA is after West Virginia. This is his fifth school.
Yeah.
First of all, fifth school.
Frank, you got players who don't want to leave college because they're making more money
That's right.
than going to the professional.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. If you want to make a lot of money, don't go to the NBA. Go to Texas Tech, because they're trying to fill the void of Texas leaving for the SEC. I don't know. I don't think they got the memo yet. It ain't gonna happen. Lubbock is not Austin, period. But at any rate, wow.
Hey, Frank, and speaking of Texas, the flooding down there, thoughts and prayers. God bless. That's just ugly. I had this, everyone. Seriously, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, whatever. Thoughts and prayers for those folks down there. I mean,
absolutely.
Those poor babies that lost their I mean, I just
Oh, yeah. That the number of deaths may reach 300 before
yeah,
it's all over. Oh my God, just terrible. Yeah,
Yep, we seem to be
fantastic.
having these 100-year storms and
Oh,
disasters every 3 weeks now. It seems like. Um,
just
yeah,
just
Frank,
like
go
just
ahead.
like
I was
I'm a
talking.
big supporter of St. Jude's. That babies shouldn't have to go through cancer.
Yeah,
There's different things that I put into charities and whatnot, but I think all of us really need to, as human beings, need to really look to see how we can help and support these different you know agencies, funds, and whatnot. I mean, I'm not
amen,
preaching. Just I think we just as human beings we need to look out for one another.
amen.
Yeah, Frank, we were talking about the player at Texas Tech getting the 5 million, and these players staying in college because they make more money than what they do in the pros. You just think about when we were in college. The only reason I wanted to get out of college was I had to get a job because I was broke. You know what I mean? If I'd have been getting paid good money, I'd probably still be in college. I'd never left, And so, yeah, I mean, uh, you can't blame these kids. I mean, if they're getting paid
I
well,
did. I did work part time when I was playing basketball. I did. I
yeah,
was doing I was doing programming work on the side. I mean, you're not allowed to work, but hell, I had to pay my rent. I mean, I
yeah,
got money to help pay my rent, but no, I worked while I was in college. I mean, across the street. I lived on High Street, the beginning of High Street, on the third floor, above Mario's Pizza. Okay, hold on,
fantastic.
I'm not done. The dungeon, which you know what it is.
Yeah,
Uh, Bernie Kirshner owned the dungeon. I actually worked as a bartender my senior year when I was playing basketball. Cross Street F&M Bank. I got a loan to buy a new car. Even a woman over there says, "I've never seen a credit rating like this for somebody in college." So I mean, I I miss those old places. The pizza from Mario's. Hell, I just say it was. Their strombolis were the best. You think about it. I lived on the third floor of High Street, had a pizza joint and a bar below that. So I really
wow.
didn't have to go anywhere. I just kind of walked down the stairs.
And
Yeah,
if you'd have been getting $1 million a year, you probably would have stayed.
Oh yeah, well, I think about 40. If I would have waited 45 years to play basketball at West Virginia, I would have been making a hell of a salary.
oh, I'll tell
So,
you.
and by the way, I reached out. I talked to Bernie. He's got a bar. Bernie Kirshner played football. He was a wide receiver there at West
Yeah,
Virginia.
Yeah.
He had some funny stories. The guy was
yeah.
incredible. But he's got a place. He's been down in Florida
It's down
for
in
many,
Florida.
many
Yeah,
years. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
down in
But
Florida
I
now.
asked you about the story about him rolling a car down the hill there at the old Mountaineer field there at the circle and set it on fire. He goes, Tim, those are one of the lies. First of all, he goes, Tim, it was a small car.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh jeez.
trust me, guys. I've got a lot of stories. I don't know if I can tell them on air, but
oh, oh, that's
Well,
yeah. Tim, you're
we know,
everything. We knew you'd be this good, and you've exceeded that. I'll tell you,
well,
tremendous, just tremendous.
like I said, I think I kept it clean as far as the
Ah,
portal.
yeah.
I want to make sure because I used to do the Dale Wolfley stuff. Before every show, he goes, Tim, watch your language. Whatever.
Yeah, those great stories. That's one of the reasons Frank and I
No,
like
I
doing
go,
this as well.
yeah.
I
I,
will say this, though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Frank, talking about his job and occupation, I don't know that I ever knew there was such thing as a uh, tunnel. What I forgot what he called it now, but weatherizing the tunnels, keeping them dry. Um, he needs to come over to Hawks Nest and work on that one a little bit. When I was teaching at Golly Bridge High School, they have a tunnel there. And Tim, you may be familiar with it. I don't know that it's it's well known because of the number of deaths that occurred while they were building this tunnel. It's across the New River, and it was being built, I think, by the alloy metals plant, and there was a lot of silicone in the mountain, and they didn't give them any protection, so several hundred of them died of silicosis, and it's a big story, and a lot of mistreatment, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, when I was teaching at Gully Ridge High School, that was a field trip one day was designed for us to go up, and when we got there, I found out we were walking through the tunnel, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I don't want to walk through a tunnel. Anyway, so we walked through the tunnel to the other side of the river and back, and the whole way over there's just water just trickling down through it, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to get out of this tunnel. This is not.
We actually we did the Cumberland Gap Tunnel down in Tennessee. That's all waterproof, but by the company I worked with. Like I said, we've done tunnel. We did under Harlem River, Harlem River for Con Ed. We did a tunnel underneath there, and we had a blast at each shaft. And back then, they were having the National Security Conference at the UN for whatever. And I was sitting there with the project manager. I was getting ready to leave. He goes, "No, you got to stick around. We're getting ready to blast in the shaft." He goes, "It's a big one." And all of a sudden, and I'm standing there with them. They boo, 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 boo. The windows across the river were going in and out. And then all the sirens started going off. And he looked at me, he goes, damn. He goes, I guess I got some explaining to do. Because they had the president was at the time was at the UN and everything else, but cops were coming from all over the place. They did the same thing on 2nd Avenue at 86th Street. They did a blast that they didn't put the blast mats down. So all the stuff blew up through the hole and people are running for their lives. Well, like I said, it's an interesting industry, but the fact is the waterproofing is like 1-2% of a total contract. And the fact after is that the biggest problem is leaking tunnels, which cost hundreds of millions of dollars to fix. So while we're at 1-2% of the contract, the biggest thing is waterproofing because you have maintenance issues afterwards. So it's interesting. Like I said, I enjoy what I do. It's waterproofing. I've developed new waterproofing concepts that they're using today, which probably should get some patents on. But it's a good thing. Helping people out.
You with your background in that, you'd probably be interested in this tunnel here. You should just Google it and read about the Hawk's Nest Tunnel. You'd probably find it pretty interesting history of it. It's there's been a lot of books written about it, and you see, with your background, you'd like that.
Well, Frank, I used to work for a company in Fairmont, TNT Machine. I don't know if you would, that they made water pumps, and back in the 80s, I used to deliver to all the coal mines throughout West Virginia, Pennsylvania. They had some very unique what they did, but yeah, Dottie Tucker and Tommy Tucker. It was TNT Machine, and he Donnie. I heard he passed away, but he was a big NASCAR fan. I've been to Talladega with them. I was down in Alabama, down in Florida, a bunch of places. We went to races. So yeah, like I said, I always have very close ties there in West Virginia. And got to meet the guys in the coal mines, and they talk about hard workers. Those guys, they don't care. They're funny as hell. I mean, there's one guy, he had like a 480 volt line that arced, and he came down to my old friend George Kovach, who owned the bar down there on the river. It was back in the 60s. That's where Bobby Joe and Gene Smith met. But yeah, George Kovach, I used to go down there, and this guy had his boat, and he came down there. He had all of his finger fused together from a 480 volt line during the work week. He came down there to water ski. He had his hand wrapped up. I said, "Does it hurt you?" "Oh, yeah, it hurts, but I want to water ski."
Wow.
Amazing
people. Yeah, Frank, running a little short of time. You want to wrap things up with Tim before we sign off for the night?
Well, I'll be happy to do that. I've really enjoyed the exchange tonight. Brings a lot of food for thought. And learning more about you and your background. I mean, I had no idea about your wife passing away, and that what a tragedy. God
Well,
bless
Frank,
you. It's lived
you
through
know,
that.
hey Frank, I don't know if you know Ellen Starkey or Pat Blass, but they both drove down here when they heard. And this is family from, you know, they drove down here to be with me, to get me
Wow.
through for the funeral and everything else. So those are the people of West Virginia, of Morgantown, that, you know, it's heartfelt that they
Yeah.
have, you know, people like that would come down. And,
Yeah. Well, and you're like me. You came from out of state, Falls Church, Virginia, to come to Morgantown. And for those who are not native of West Virginia, and we could throw Wolf in there too. He came from near where I lived in
yep.
Western New York. And, it's not for everybody. We keep on saying that. But for those people, when it gets, it's interesting because we were talking about this the other day. The only other place that has had the same impact on me, I don't have an ounce of Irish in me, but did an awful lot of work in Ireland after I went there the first time. And it just absolutely blew me away. And what you just described of those two women is every day, particularly in the small towns in Ireland, the villages where everybody is part of a large family, and that caring ethic is significant. And they're again, it's not for everyone, but for people who've experienced, particularly coming from the outside, Morgantown's a special place. The university is a special place, and when we talk about this a lot with players who came from out of state too. I'm thinking of Boom Smalls, Freddie Boom Smalls, came from Philadelphia. Tally came from Cleveland. Daryl came from D.C. Same
Jeff
thing.
and Jeff and I were the same age,
Yeah.
and Jeff signed with the Redskins. There's a local place down from my house, and I was walking in, and there was Jeff, and he looked at me. He was like, "Oh, Tim, geez, it's been a long time." So I took him out, introduced him to my wife and the other people that were with us. And this one girl, a friend of ours, uh, didn't know this, but she had a huge crush on Jeff. So
Huh.
I introduced everyone. I said, I can't remember the woman's name. So I introduced her. She just sitting there. She got drool coming down her cheek. And so Jeff finally asked, I said, "What is your issue?" She said, "I have a crush on him." I can't believe you know him. No, I played golf with what's his name, wide receiver. He passed away, Taylor, Charlie Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I've been out with him drinking, and he says, "Hold out your hands." I said, well, okay. I held out my hand. He goes, "No, both hands." I held out my hand. He pulls out a Crown Royal bag and dumps like five Super Bowl rings in my hand. And I said, "Holy crap, Charlie, what are you doing?" I was talking to the elementary school kid. And then another time they were announcing the Hall of Fame new inductees. I said, "Charlie, you think you'll get inducted?" He looked at me and he says, he used the MF word, and I won't say it online here. He goes, "I was inducted back in the 80s. I said, "Sorry, Charlie, didn't know."
Oh, what a life, I'll tell you. Well,
No,
you stay right there, and Darren, if you could throw up the talk at Greg. This is a prelude to what we're going to experience on Friday, the day after tomorrow. Darren, if you can throw up that slide, we're going to be at the Brian Joswiak hosted golf tournament.
oh,
Uh,
tell him I said hello. Him and I
Nice
had a,
show. And,
yep.
and
Oh,
Boom
he's a good,
Smalls, they'll all be there. And so we're going to be on the air, folks. Hopefully, starting at 10 o'clock. Darren's gracious to bring all his 4K equipment down there. We're going to go on live, both on the New River Network and also on the Voice of College Football. Greg, I know you're looking forward to it. 10 to 12 on Friday. Do you want to say a few words about it?
Absolutely. Can't wait to get up there and see all these guys. Brian Joswiak has been a good friend of ours and a good friend of the show, and we worked through him to get this thing set up, and it's going to be a blast. I do know this though, Frank. We have our Sunday call. My wife was sitting here beside me, and when I told you I'd probably leave here around 6:30 or 7, Friday morning. Of course, she has to come with me because of my medical stuff, but I got a look that only us married folks can understand. When I said, "Yeah, we'll get up about 6:30 or 7 and leave," it was like, I'm ready to kill you. So, I'm not looking forward to that 2.5 hour drive up there, but
Yeah, yeah.
fortunately, Dave Gorby's going to ride with me, so I'll have
Well,
nothing
there
to
you
worry about
go.
here there.
Yeah, and the drive up there, where it'll be at Lakeview, that and my story is the first exposure ever to Lakeview Country Club was watching a match between Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. My father-in-law was a great, he's since passed, but a great golf fan, and I thought he felt he had died and gone to heaven 5 times just walking down the fairway with those two guys.
Yeah.
Is that possible? And there's Palmer and Nicholas, and that was a long time ago. I think 1971, but it was.
If I'm not mistaken, if that's the course I played up there once, and if I'm not mistaken, they have a marker on that course
They do.
in one of the fairways where Jack Nicklaus maybe his drive or Palmer or one of them. There's a marker there. I remember seeing that.
There is. That is memorialized.
Yeah, I played a few times. I enjoyed playing out there.
Yeah.
I also
It's beautiful.
played a round of golf with our old friend Dr. J out here in Maryland. He shook my hand, and I tell you what, I've never had a hand wrap around my hand the way he had. Huge hands. And I said, I introduced house up there in UMass, and his scores because he couldn't count. He goes, "Great par, Tim." I said, "I had a 6 there, Sean." He goes, "Oh, I got you down for a par. Don't worry about it." So we had some of the best rounds ever playing with Charlie Taylor.
That's great. And then if you could put up the next visual, Darren, our guest next week. We're looking forward to a 2 offensive lineman in the early 2000s, Jeremy Sheffy. And we thank Mark Parsons for making that connection. And we'll have Jeremy with us next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And we want to apologize to everyone for the start. That's Tim. That's why usually our back and forth gets us to our guest at about 15 after 7, but we took a little bit longer tonight because of the issues that we had with the audio.
Yeah. Like I said, Coach Catlett said he'd be watching tonight.
Very good.
Awesome. Hope so. And Tim, again, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us. It's always fun to hear those stories and to hear about your background and everything you've accomplished since you left WVU. But
I enjoy it, but I appreciate you all the time.
Great career at WVU. And Frank, again, the name of our show is the Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. And those then guys, they sure are special. And it's so much fun for us to get the opportunity to meet and talk to you and get to know you a little bit. It's been a rewarding experience for me, and I know Frank feels the same way, getting to know all you folks and hearing your story. So again, thank you so very much, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And Frank, I don't know if Darren has the video of the promo you do at the end. I'm assuming he does. So we'll go ahead and bid everybody good night, and we'll watch that promo, and we'll look forward to seeing you Friday morning at 10 a.m. providing my wife don't kill me between now and then. And if that does happen, Frank, you're on your own. And, have a good time. But if not, we'll see everybody at 10 a.m. at Brian's Joserac for Kids event in Morgantown. Looking forward to that. So good night, everybody. We will talk to you Friday.
Hi, everyone. Frank Fear here from Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. And we're pleased to be part of the Voice of College Football National Network. Mark Rogers and staff have done a great job with the network, and it's constantly adapting and expanding to bring content to you. Many of you are already following us on X, and Facebook and Instagram. And if you're not, here are the URLs, the links to go to and take advantage of all the great content that's there for you. Even if you do that, you may not know some of the new doings at the Voice of College Football Network. One is a new podcast options that already thousands of people are taking advantage of. You can get it on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast networks, and we encourage you to do that. Perhaps the biggest drum roll is the new Voice of College Football website with plenty of content, everything that you want to enjoy and can enjoy about college football. And remember, one thing that makes the Voice of College Football Network different is that we're 24/7, 12 months a year. It never ends. It's college football in the winter, the spring, the summer, and of course during the fall. We also want to announce, and Mark Rogers again and staff have done a great job with this, a relationship with Amazon.com. And here's Mark to tell you more about it.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Well, that's it for now. Let me thank you for your loyalty. The Voice of College Football Network. This is Frank Fear for Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. Hope to see you on our channel and other channels, VOCF. Take care, everybody.